If you have a bank account in Nigeria, chances are you've come across this text message. Probably you did nothing about it. I mean, what is 50 naira for you to storm the bank and cause a scene?
An unidentified man that has surfaced after he attempted to commit suicide in a banking hall.
Many Nigerians called for reforms of the banks.
The banks are only telling me, take this money, find a way to steal it, and pay. So the banks is the biggest industry in corruption in this country.
If I go to your branch, they will tell me to calm down. They will give me juice and coke to calm down. I'm not going to calm down. I am not going to calm down. And any of you that watch this video and tell me that this girl is rap, I am not rap. When they remove money from your account, smile.
How can you, Mr. Speaker, just you take your money, your own money, to the bank to keep? Bank will remove when you just to remove something because we keep the money.
This news explainer is going to be boring. You know why? Because we're talking about banks and how they come up with policies that enable them deep hands in your bank account and take out your hard-earned money. Could that be boring? Maybe you have too much money and you're not bothered. People like me, we are bothered. And if you are too, please stay to the end of this video. Back to the story. Just for a few minutes, let me break down how bank extortion works. Every bank is an organization, and as an organization, the main goal is to make profit. Now, you are not far away from the society, Nigerian society, where electricity is a problem. So your bank ends up running on diesel 24/7 in order to service you.
Nigeria's top first-generation banks are revising banking hours across the country as the price of diesel in Nigeria has jumped.
This doesn't really excuse the fact that they should come up with policies that enable them to go to your account and take money to run their business. Whatever happens to the bank doesn't really concern you. Here's how it concerns you. Take, for example, this guy. Let's call him Thomas for now. So Thomas gets a job in a bank, wants to please his boss. So he comes up with this way of making money for the bank. So he calls it ATM maintenance charge. I don't have an ATM card, but I still get deducted for ATM charges.
Yes, I can hear you now. How can a bank convince me that it can justify maintaining a card that is not in its possession? A card that is in the possession of a customer. Why are banks collecting transaction charges on those ATM? Why should you be eating from both sides of the mouth? To me, it's not a rip-off, it's a scam.
You just met Chief Uriah Demo, who is a forensic accountant, spent the last 25 years winning cases against banks on illegal charges. This man is an expert on this. Currently, he has over 400 cases against Nigerian banks.
They defraud their customers, and they do it with crass impunity, and nobody's doing anything about it. And don't also forget the fact that the judicial system is very slow in Nigeria, and it's so unfortunate that most Nigerians don't even know their rights, their basic rights when it comes to their relationship with banks. Why asking you to fill the form to open the account? They're supposed to give you a list of all their charges and tell you these are the charges. So if you do this, if you transact this with us, this is how we are going to charge you. If you do this, this is the charge you. Then you will sign. Ask Nigerians, has it ever happened before? The answer is no. So when you are going to open an account with a bank as a Nigerian, you are just like a blind man entering into a contract with a clever crook. That's the banker.
Now we understand why banks charge excessively on your accounts, but why do they do this with so much impunity?
The customers are holding the short end of the stick at every point in time. Simply because the banks have their money. So there is a man that holds your money, is your master. So the banks feel they are the master, So is a whatever they do to the customers is on is what I would say a blackmail. Take it or leave it, So you know. So and it's rather unfortunate. It's rather unfortunate. This type of things don't happen abroad.
And they quick go withdraw money where they send for me before bank. Go come out their bank charges.
I'm here to complain for the illegal deduction. They deducted 500 naira at the straight, 200 naira 3 times, 200 naira once. Yesterday they just refunded 100 naira. And I know stamp duty is 50 naira charges. Even though they are going to charge from Monday to this month, it should be 300 naira. But in a day, they deduct 500 naira.
I no go office today. I won't just confirm by myself to know what is going on because I received alert and the thought. Now I will shoot them to court.
Bank, I have said my own. I have said my own. Me o fe wahala o. I don't want wahala o. Go and remove it. I will tag all this. I am really furious. What kind of daylight robbery is this? How can you rob people like that? You're not telling me to go and pay $130. If I give all my staff $130, they share it among themselves. Won't they pray for me? You now sit down in one place and be telling me that you are charging me for lifestyle changes. What kind of lifestyle? Is that lifestyle that can you imagine?
They debited me for sum of 15,000 naira and they have not even paid me. I'm trying to rectify the problem. Since 5 o'clock, I'm here.
I was debited by bank 50,000 naira on Saturday around 12 o'clock.
This is not just one charge. There are many other charges your bank come up with in order to take money from your account.
The charges come in different types. So the first one is the one that the law recognizes.
Okay.
The second one is the one that the law does not recognize at all. So the one the law recognizes, when they take it in excess, that's an excess charge. The one the law does not recognize, when they take it, it is illegal. That is a breach of the law, breach of CBN regulations, breach of CBN circulars, breach of CBN guidelines, for which sanction is imposed by law. There was a bank imposed dividend on interest. I read it. I've never heard of such thing before in my life. Just to steal customers' money. The CBN has brought up this global standing instruction where they say if you are owing one bank, if you have money in another bank, this bank where you have money can transfer your money forcefully without your permission, without your instruction. See, that global standing instruction is a fraud by the central bank. The central bank does not have the right to ask a bank to move money from bank A, bank B to bank A, where the customer has money. The law is striped that the relationship between a bank and its customer is contractual, banker customer. It is the principal, that's the customer, that will instruct his agent pay money to so account or receive so deposit on my behalf. But with what CBN has done, the CBN has literally cancelled a common law principle of banking by allowing an agent to be doing whatever he likes without taking further instructions from his principal, which is the customer.
These people still act as if they're doing us a favor, keeping our money in their bank. It's not just about the charges they put on your account, it's also about the bad services they offer. If you make a transaction and network gets bad, you get debited twice, and they don't get to refund your money until the next day or probably next week, and you still have to go back to the bank and complain to them.
They've really been frustrating us for some days now. I try collecting money with my ATM for the past 3 days. It's been impossible.
I cannot withdraw since morning. I've gone to 3 branches. What they are saying is no network. I'm tired of using them. I'm even tired.
So every year, this complaint increased, and the CBN decided, well, we've had enough of this. We need to find a way to fix it before it gets out of hand. And they came up with this idea of setting up the Consumer Protection Department, focused mainly on complaints from consumers of these banks. So what this means is, if the bank charges you illegally, you're free to take it up with the CBN, and the CBN will penalize the bank with sanctions. But does this really work?
Most customers are turned away when the bank says it has taken the matter to the court. The moment a bank tells the CBN, oh, we have taken this matter to court, the CBN will answer off. It is simpler and cheaper and faster to have those matters resolved by CBN as against, spending years. You are more likely to get justice with the CBN much more faster, and you can get your money back.
So what do you think here? What should people do when they feel that their right is being abused by these banks? They're supposed to be guardians of their accounts, and they are in turn throttling people, taking their hard-earned money, taking them in little pieces so you don't get to complain. And at the end of the day, it amounts to, 89.2 billion excess illegal charges from banks.
But you see, that's just a tip of the iceberg compared to the monumental fraud the banks are perpetuating in the accounts of the Nigerian customers. There are different ways Nigerians can seek redress. The most effective method is to challenge any offensive entry they find in their statement of account. Monthly statement of account is free. As a customer, you are entitled to hard copy. I'm not talking about soft copy now. And a different way they can do it is either you go to the bank to go and challenge them, to ask them to explain to you. And they should bring out their CBN guideline. Let the bank show the customer the CBN guideline, where CBN say they should charge those things. That if they can't go there physically, they can write to them, make their grievances known and tell them, look, Oga, so charge in my account, this charge, I don't know anything about it. I want those charges to be refunded, not reversed. I did not say it should be reversed too. And then when they are refunding it, they should refund it with interest at the bank's maximum lending rate. The bank's maximum lending rate. Failure on the part of the bank to do that within 2 weeks. They will give them just 2 weeks. That's what the law says. Give them 2 weeks. Do a reminder and tell the bank. After 2 weeks, they don't do anything, go report them to the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Consumer Protection Department.
Every year, the complaints seem to double. In 2016, it was 1,175 complaints. Well, in the following year, 2017, this complaint jumped to 1,473. Now, here is a shocking one. In 2021, the CBN recorded 23,526 complaints from customers.
But if nothing is done, please get your lawyer to approach the Court of Competent Jurisdiction. I'm not asking people to go to the bank and carry placards or go there and begin to create nuisance. You understand? I'm not saying that. You understand? And turn themselves into nuisance. I'm not saying that's not what I'm saying.
So this systemic corruption in the banking sector doesn't really have anything to do with the government. I mean, is the government aiding this systemic corruption?
All these news or criminal acts in the banking industry, they really affect our image. And don't also forget the fact that there can never be a corrupt government official. Listen, there can never be a corrupt government official without a Nigerian bank helping out in the cleaning up exercise, in cleaning up government funds. It's not possible because all government monies are paid into banks.
4 banks offered me loans, 100 million naira each. Yes, I looked at my salary. My salary, I remember they were asking about 700 and something. How was I going to pay that over 4 years? They didn't ask me. One of the banks had given me a credit card with a credit line of $20,000. No account with them. One of the banks had printed checkbooks for me. How was I expected to pay back? The banks are only telling me, take this money, find a way to steal it, and pay. So the banks, in my opinion, are the biggest industry in corruption in this country. Nobody, no political office holder, no civil servant, no public servant can actually dip his hand in the till without the funds they steal going through the banking system. They don't store cash. It's about transfers. It's about authorization. It's about the banks helping them to hide the funds.
is killing the Nigerian economy. Think about the small and medium scale enterprises who needs every one kobo they can save on their businesses. Think about the poor Nigerians who need to know how the banks are managing their own money, the monies belonging to those customers. Think about them. Think about the image Nigerian economy is having abroad.
Here's the reason I'm making this video. I just hope it helps you understand that for so long, a lot of people have been quiet about this. It doesn't really help the situation. I mean, it's a good thing that the complaints are increasing. It's a bad thing that the bank is not doing anything to stop or listen to the consumers. It's a worse situation that the CBN is not doing enough. But here's why the CBN's hands looks like it's tied.
If people don't complain, what would the regulatory authorities do? I'm sorry, but what would the regulatory authorities do? In the 90s, a lot of our own generation, when you open a newspaper, that time internet was, social media wasn't that rampant. You will see so bank versus so customer, the customer ran away. People were running away from them then. It was when people like us now came and said, for crying out loud, what nonsense is this? Who is running away from you? It is now that the banks are now running away from their customers. Okay. It is now that we are knocking senses into the heads of banks, as well as the CBN. We are knocking senses into their heads. By what? Going to court to challenge in court. So that's the reason why you see our Nigerian banks being gentle now. It's not that they are gentle. Those guys they are rascals. Nigerian banks, they are rascals. With all due respect, most staffers of the banks don't know. In fact, they are not experienced in banking. They are not core professional bankers. This is not what banking, what they are doing is not what banking is all about. Nigerian bankers are what I'll call rent seekers. It used to be in the past when we had professional bankers. Most of them are honorary members of CIBN, Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria. So, because they lack professional etiquettes as bankers, what are they going to teach their juniors? What are they going to teach their juniors?
This topic is just complex. It's huge. There's a lot of things to talk about.
So these are the impunities, you understand, we are talking about. Okay, look at the Yeye Amcon. You know, this asset management corporation.
Yes.
You know, those guys are jesters. You know, they have been putting up a lot of draconian clauses in the Amcon Act, like they can seize your assets without even taking you to court. They can do this, they can turn the world upside down. Even they can come and separate you and your wife if you are owing them and not. What nonsense! Now, most of those things they are doing, the moment you challenge those things in court, my brother, the court will chastise them and say you don't have the power.
In 2021, the CBN recovered 89 billion naira from these banks that are supposed to be guardians of your account, but somehow cashing out. Now, that got me thinking, what should happen to this money recovered by the CBN from these banks? I mean, it's our money somehow. So drop a comment below, let me know. Should this money be refunded back to you? I mean, your 15 naira was taken to add up to this. The reason I'm doing this video is just to make you understand that these banks are really ripping off from your money, and if there's something you should do is to go online, fill a form, complain, let the CBN know, and make sure the complaint keeps increasing every single day.